especially, I mean, alongside both Laura and Jane. Jane, I just read your book, pretty powerful. And we share something, what you're doing for journalists. For many years, I've been trying to solve for visual journalists. Um, Pretty much, I was born and raised in Puerto Rico. I left my country to become a photojournalist. And because I thought the stories that were being told about my country were not representative of like my true experience, like my experience and the experience of my community. And as soon as I moved here, I realized very quickly that I was facing a tsunami of challenges that made it almost impossible for me to move forward. I always tell people my first job was cleaning for free at a photo studio because I was Latin. Or when I went to Rolling Stone magazine, my first day they took me to maintenance because I was Latin. So, as I tried to enter the industry, I found a lot of barriers that were really unfortunate. And throughout the experience, I decided to, I became mad enough. I always tell people I became, I started, it started to eat me up alive. Laura, you talked about that, like, Laura, you talked about this when it comes to like what was happening in politics. I feel I relate to that when it came to my experience as how as in trying to enter the industry and break in. And as I did, and I found these challenges, then I found the barrier of sustainability. It was impossible for me to make a sustain. I was the eternal intern. I worked for free everywhere. I wrote for free for like, New York Times, the Huffington Post. I contributed everywhere. I did exhibitions for free. I was actually losing money instead of making money, and it almost. I mean, I feel like for almost 5 years, and it wasn't because I lacked talent or wasn't because I was not, good enough or smart enough or educated enough. I had gone to the School of Visual Arts. I had, worked for many incredible photojournalists and visual journalists, Donna Ferrato, Susan Opton. I mean, I was ready. The thing was that the industry itself was lacking from an infrastructure standpoint, with a system that allowed for people who were not already within the industry to become part of the industry. And if you were a woman, if you were BIPOC, if you were, in my case, Latin, it made it really difficult. And that's how Visura was born. Initially, it was born from very deep-rooted frustration and anger. And it started as a magazine, just so that people know. It started as a magazine that I shared with 10 people that were practically my parents and my grandparents and my brothers and sisters. And, I had a partner, Graham Attorney, and he designed it, and I started creating that content. And within a month, it grew to 40,000 people. And in that process, I started getting letters from people from all over the world telling me, I'm a freelance visual journalist. This is my work, and can you see it, please? And what's interesting about that was that I started to realize that I wasn't alone. And I started to have conversations with them. And I honestly, when I look back at my journals and I look back at my research, I've spoken to over 800 visual journalists from around the world. And I've asked them the same question, like, what are you working on? Can you share your work? How do you make a sustainable living? And throughout the years, I started to realize that there was a, a, a pipeline problem. The systems that powered the sourcing, licensing and distribution of visual content was very narrow. And it only allowed for a certain group of people to come in. And almost everybody else was somehow excluded. And because of that, uh, it made it really impossible. It made it really impossible for everybody else to become a freelancer and to become a journalist and become a journalist that could make a living doing what we did. And so I embarked on a journey that's now 15 years in trying to solve this very small problem, which is around the idea of how can we build a platform that empowers, that understands the value of visual journalism, understands the importance of elevating the work of visual journalists, understands the importance of respecting the fact that they need to make a sustainable living doing the work that they do. And the result of that is Visera. It is a global marketplace where visual journalists and storytellers from all over the world come in. They build their website using our technology. They can immediately interconnect to a global marketplace, or I like to call it a community of like-minded journalists, visual journalists and storytellers from all over the world. We have over 180 countries. Actually, no, we have 183 countries represented, which is
That's
pretty impressive. And all mostly because it's all organic. And then we have what they do is they build their website and they can also share their work with other editors, with editors who also build accounts and are looking for work and are looking to license directly from the creators. One thing that
we have a lot of questions coming in. So
oh,
yeah. So
I'll wrap it up. I mean, all to say is, um, my entire life I have dedicated to trying to bridge the gap between the supply and demand so that visual journalists can make a better living and so we can elevate visual content across the internet because I believe that is key for the health of our democracy.